Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Profit Tool Belt podcast. Today, we're going to be talking to Al Keith. Al is up in Winnipeg, Manitoba, but what he's doing up there is magic. Al's a kitchen renovator, and today he and I are going to be talking about home renovation profits. He's a master. He has done a really good job of focusing in on the profits. Now, you're going to hear us talking about this on the show today, but Al has been a client of mine for a couple of years now, and he's gone through really an insane transformation. I shouldn't say insane because it's been a step at a time, but the thing that is really good is that Al's a true leader in his business and develops his people. And we've heard that theme before here, where, when you get to that point in your company where you're developing the people around you, you're a different kind of business. And Al is now in that space, which is doing very well for him. So let's get to the episode. Let's hear from Al Keith.
There we
Mr.
go.
Al Keith, how are you?
I'm great. I'm fabulous. It's a beautiful day. I'm happy to be here chatting with you, Dom. I'm a giant fan of yours, and it's really nice to spend time with you.
Well, thank you. It's very nice of you. I'm a fan of yours as well. We were just at a meeting yesterday, and here we are again today.
Yeah.
We can't talk enough.
A lot of each other.
We do.
Yeah.
Well, today you and I are going to be talking about home renovation profits because you are definitely on that path to be the expert in that topic. But people might not know, they might know your name from the Contractor Strategy Group and you've been around this community but Al Keith, who the heck are you? And how is it you come to be speaking to all these forward-facing contractors all around the world?
Yeah, well, I'm a guy who loves what he does, right? I have a business I've had for 16 years now, and I came from a very diverse background, which primarily was about working with people, with and for people. So I've done work right in the charity world, and I've been, a variety of senior fundraising positions in different organizations. Decided I would, had driven far enough down that road, and I was looking for a change. And strangely enough, I was talking to somebody who, I will tell you openly, and if she's watching this podcast, and she won't be because she doesn't like me, I was looking for something to do, and she said, when you're not, engaged with the businesses and stuff that you are in, you seem to get a lot of joy, right, out of working with your hands and building stuff that's, beautiful. And that, she knew that, I didn't just build anything, right? I built stuff, and it was going to be great. That somehow, this was something that had some element of exceptionality right to it. Yeah. And it was interesting because she intuited this and passed this back right to me. And it was a reflection that kind of opened my eyes to a direction that I wasn't really looking at, right? And so I started this business, with, essentially myself and somebody working, with me as an assistant. And I did all the work. And
so you were swinging the hammer. You were taking down the drywall. You were putting in the tile.
Absolutely, right. And I built some fabulous decks, a whole bunch of beautiful projects, right, for people. And I've got customers who, can't believe we've grown, and now we've got other people who are, working to my standards, working on their projects today. So
I have been impressed.
I find it a weird start. I was going in a different direction. I was going to build bicycles. I did. I've got a background where I love bicycles. As a kid, I used to build bicycles.
Yeah.
It was great. I got a lot of joy out of building stuff. It was really kind of cool, kind of interesting, right? A little bit different. And I changed gears, and here I am. So happier than hell.
Yeah.
And I love my business more and more every year.
That comes through. That comes through in my conversations with you all the time that you love this. But you actually said something kind of cool. People might not know this about you, but wasn't the first time we met, but very early on when you and I started working together, you casually mentioned you were rebuilding the gas tank for a motorcycle in your basement. And I just thought, what that people do that? Doesn't for you, it's normal.
Ballpark podcast, right, on my most recent motorcycle, right? It's an obsession. This is a disease that I have, right? That I'm forced to build stuff that's very, very cool. And strangely, in my own unique corner of my motorcycle obsession with Canadian-built Can-Am motorcycles between 1973 and 1982, right? I own a motorcycle that's one of one, the only one that was built right,
Oh,
in the world. And I have a replica bike that I built of and that's something similar that is truly going to set the world on fire this year. This is the 50th anniversary of Can-Am motorcycles, and I think this is going to be the pick, right, of the litter in terms of the big event that we have with
is it a show bike? Is it a racing bike? Is it a ice riding? Like what do you do with it?
Well, this is a bike that was built right for motocross racing in 1980, and yeah, but this one like we'll take, and that we do show these things and whatever. But I think it's the same obsession that translates from my business back and forth with my hobby, and that I want to build stuff that's cool. I want to push the limits of what I'm capable of.
Right.
I want to, I ask for help. I get people who are very good at things, right, to work with me and pick up pieces of the puzzle, and it works fabulously. So, like I hand build gas tanks and fabricate parts and things like this. And I've got somebody who works with me, right, who's like an incredible fabricator who welds things and builds, individual pieces and stuff like that for me. Somebody builds seats.
Beautiful, Pat. You've got a passion for this. It's great. Now, before we move off the motorcycle thing, are you not writing a book on this topic, or is that still in the works?
The book's happening, and the
great.
book, and the book has passed hands, right? And so, I, with a couple of other individuals, started a history project group to gather the history of Can-Am motorcycles, and we've done that, and the torch has been passed on that. Right, and we have two brothers who are writing it, Lawrence and Mark Hacking, and they're getting funding from Bombardier Recreational Products, BRP, right, to do this 120 page book.
Remind me, we'll link to them in the podcast, but that's cool. I mean, you're not busy enough running a multi-million-dollar renovation firm,
sure,
but you're also writing a book and making gas tanks in your basement.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping to wind down the writing of the book, and by August, right, all that stuff will cease. But yeah, like I like to spend a couple hours every day working on my motorcycle, typically between 6 and 8.
I love it. And we're here to talk about home renovation profits, but there's this other side of Al Keith that I'm glad you brought out. And by the way, I'm proud of you. I can't wait to read the book. When it comes out, I want to buy a copy. So please let me know.
Thank you.
I know we have other motorcycle enthusiasts on here. One of our other listeners, gentleman Justin Minahan, holds a land speed record.
Really?
In Bonneville Salt Flats. Yeah.
You were talking about him and sent me a video of stuff like that.
Yeah. I think in a couple different categories. Anyways, there's people out there. There's mill workers who listen to the show that are BMW racers. We've got, that automotive world is another thing. But let's leave that for automotive podcasts. Thanks for that background. But
do we have to? Yeah.
Do we have? It's your happy spot. It's one of your happy places.
My business is my happiest spot these days. It is.
Well, let's talk about that, because you're on the road to profitability. You figured out some really interesting things.
Sure.
What did it look like?
Yeah.
What's that?
We got our ass kicked.
We had a bit of
some issues and stuff like that along the way. Like we're ups and downs. And we're slow and steady. That's not true. We're kicking ass, moving forward, and making money. It's good.
Yeah. Well, you're a very strong visionary, and you do see the positive in tough situations, which is good. But take us back so that we get context. You said you left the charity world, you were a senior fundraiser for charities, and then you started doing decks and things like that. What did it look like when you first started, and take us to today?
Yeah, well, it was, really like me, like measuring the boards, selling the jobs, right, doing everything, and started building decks, whatever. I had a very successful first summer. I needed to make a bunch of money. It was a key time in my life when I was, I needed to buy a house and my previous wife, and I needed a down payment, so I needed to get this moving very quickly, right? And thanks to the help variety of places, I got moving quickly, got my business started, and then, but very quickly though, it became apparent, and I knew this initially, right, that the decks wouldn't be a full-time sort of thing, that I needed to do a broader contract.
Well, weather is a factor where you live. You're in Winnipeg, Canada, and so you can only do decks for what, 3 weeks?
Yeah, well,
I know that's mean. I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say that, but
no, but it's true. There'd be a whole lot of shoveling snow trying to do decks 12 months a year.
You couldn't even get the sonotubes in for the helical piles. So yeah, so you knew you had to move to something that would allow you to work year round, and that's why you went inside and started to do.
Yeah, so started to do interior work, and in our first summer, right into the fall, like we started building kitchens, and got a lot of satisfaction from it. Discovered that like there was sort of a hole in this business for somebody who could build good kitchens. I did a lot of installs.
Yeah.
So I subbed out, doing literally hundreds of installs, with myself and an assistant, Jeremy, and we're in people's homes and out of people's homes, and lots of times we never met the customers, right?
Oh, really?
Because our customer was like a box store or somebody like this, and that we were subbing out the install. So we were coming and going, and identifying problem after problem, right? And that things would go through a cycle where like a new designer would be working in store X, and they'd kind of get their feet under them and start selling projects, and we'd start building them, and they'd be terrible, right? And then subsequently they'd start to improve, and then they'd move on, and they were just sort of tourists in the business. And some of them got to be very good before they moved on to forestry or God knows what, right? But we looked at it and said, I think there's a better way to do this. And that, we decided we wanted to focus on kitchens and interior renovations.
Right.
And that we wanted to not only build the product, we wanted to buy and sell the product as well too. Right.
So more control over the whole project, because you love quality.
Yeah.
And so you're probably seeing where it didn't match up with your level of quality. You wanted to control those parts.
Absolutely. And then we wanted to control those pieces, be able to put the pieces together, and to be able to say to a customer, you know what, like if there's a problem with your floor, if there's a problem with your cabinet door, whatever, like you're going to phone me, right? Like you're going to phone us and say, I got a problem with this. And I'm not going to say, oh, well, that's the so-and-so, right? I'm going to come down to your house, right? And we're going to chat and have a good time and reconnect. And we're going to take a look at what's going on, and we're going to, figure out what needs to be done.
That's very rare in this world today, that somebody stands up and says, I want to take that level of personal responsibility, where if there's a problem with the door, and I know you don't make the cabinets, but you're saying if there's a problem with the door, I want you to call me. If there's a problem with that, you want to own it, which I think probably gives you a big market advantage. The customers hearing that must love it.
Sure. And we're quietly starting to tell people that we do this, that we've done this for years. Like that if you phone me, and I built your kitchen 8-10 years ago, I'm going to be glad to hear from you, right? Because we haven't connected in a while, probably. And two, I'm going to listen to what your issue is, and that see if, I can send somebody down there, which is what I do, more often than not these days. But I also show up, right? Like I genuinely love these people, and this cohort of people who we built, who are raving fans of our business, and who know that they can call me, and that, I'm going to show up and I'm going to give them some advice, or I'm going to, fix something or do something or whatever. So we're starting to build this into our program, where we quietly call it the never ending warranty. And it's not a big flashy thing, and we don't want to boast about this like too broadly, but yeah, we really are standing behind our product.
Stand behind it. Well, and if you're not comfortable talking about this, just change the subject very casually. But one of the things that you and I worked on a long time ago is figuring out the ideal customer. And you came back with one of the nicest definitions ever, which was to call them the charcuterie crowd.
The charcuterie crowd. We love these people. And it seems to be a common thread amongst our people, is that, like they're living a good life, that they're investing in themselves, right? That they're having their friends over, and they're entertaining with charcuterie or, whatever else.
Whatever it might be. Yeah. And for people who don't know what charcuterie is, just think of a cutting board filled with all sorts of deli meats and cheeses and olives and figs and, honeycomb. It's like a really high end, you probably paired with great wine.
Absolutely. No, we have a friend, who invites us over, once a year, something like this. And she has a charcuterie board that's the size of a small surfboard, right? It's fabulous. And that she spent hours, right? And she's being creative, she's being artistic, right? She's giving her all, right, to celebrate her friendship with us. And it's great when people go the extra mile. It's better when they do it in a fabulous kitchen.
Yeah. What I found interesting is that you had that insight into who your perfect customer was, because we could do it at the very high level. Like they drive this kind of car, they live in that neighborhood.
Sure.
And that's, any of us can do that. All of us should in our business, figure out our ideal customer. But you
Shop
took it
at
to that.
Costco, right? They don't shop at IKEA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a certain flavor to them. But I found it interesting. You went that next level, because for me, charcuterie is what we make. We make homemade sausage and cheese.
Right.
But so I might view it a little differently than you, but I immediately knew your person when you said charcuterie crowd.
Yeah.
And so when I understand that, it's easy to say, well, that's my ideal customer, or that's not my ideal customer.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And we have some interesting people who have fallen into that group as well too, right? We have this younger Filipino couple, right, who met us at a trade show, right, and saw what we do and followed us online, and they came to us and she said, I want to be one of your people. I want to hold an I love my TENTEN kitchen sign, right? This is how we live our life. We've just bought this home. We want to renovate it.
Yes.
And they regularly, right, into like an 1,100 square foot home, right, in a mid-range neighborhood of Winnipeg, pack in like 35, 40 people, right, for events, right? They renovated specifically for this. The kitchen is theirs. It's a little bit blingy, definitely a little bit fun. Yeah. No.
Well, that's the Filipino culture too, isn't it? I mean, I thought Italians had large wedding parties. Filipino wedding parties put ours to shame. And so they do love to entertain. They're very family focused as a culture. I love it. I want to change gears a little bit and talk about triggers.
Sure.
Because, people listening here are at all different stages of the business. Some people are on a trajectory much like yours, where they're just growing and growing and growing and focusing on the wise elements. But you didn't start like that. So I want to know about some triggers, like the trigger of, when did I hire my first field person? The other trigger, when did I hire my first office person? When did something, you probably recognize those triggers. Tell us about those.
Yeah. Well, coming along the way, like we were pushing things a little bit. I think that my feet were stuck, right? I had sticky bottom, right, with me doing the work, right? And I liked me doing the work, and I felt confident with me doing the work, and that, like I was developing Jeremy, who I worked with for 9 years, right? Who we worked fabulously together,
wow.
Right? But like I knew that I needed to get out of the actual hands-on part of the business.
If How did you know that, though? How did you know you had to get off the tools?
I knew because that I was holding us back, right? That I thought that finding 2 jobs with selling the jobs, right, and building the jobs, that I couldn't really do it. And I was like a dedicated slave to both. Like I wanted the quality built, really well, and that I also, wanted to sell jobs, and I had to, run between the two of them, and it wasn't working. So anyway, like I think that for me, like was a trigger. I'll give you another one though.
Yeah.
At a later point, I was still partially on the tools, and I knew I needed to get completely off the tools. But I found that I'd spent like pretty much a whole year driving around in my van, like from job to job to job, right? And that I was being productive. I was making sure that, quality was going the way we wanted, that things were good. I loved showing up and being a hero, right? And saving the day, that somebody gives me the complex problem, and I go, yeah, have you thought about this? And boom, whatever. And that I feel great, right, doing that. I get a big internal payback. But the reality is that, like, I was taking away from somebody else's job, and that my job was to coach them, right, to get to the point where, they can come up with the solutions. And if they want to bounce something off me, right, I'm accessible, I can do that. But I don't need to show up all the time, right, and save the day. So
who replaced that? Did you replace that function, or did you just change the way the business runs?
I did. That we started to hire, right, people to do more jobs, right, for us. And I got a fabulous carpenter who I stumbled into, right, who I would say, and maybe it's just my ego saying this, that I was a better carpenter than him when I hired him. But within 6 months of him working for me, he was a better carpenter than I ever could have been.
Wow.
Right? and that, he's grown into the job, and he's amazing, and he's like a quiet leader in our business, and that I knew that I could step away from looking after quality right on a day-to-day basis and start to get after the job of leading the business, which I don't think I did well. Right. I think that I was doing this, like off the corner of my desk, and like not doing, enough of it.
Well, in the beginning, you do what you have to do, right? Because you started as yourself and Jeremy, and then at some point you realized you need to hire other people. It sounds like you found this lead carpenter.
Yep.
And so, I'm trying to give you credit here because we've been working together a long time. You're constantly moving forward, and it's little steps. What people might not know, especially the people watching this on YouTube, is you're dressed very nicely today.
Thanks.
But there's a reason you dress nice, is because you can't be lugging drywall around it.
What it is. And that, Dom knows that I had this conversation, and we talked about strategies, like for me, right, not to roll around on the floor, right, solve somebody's problem, which I'm still, have to check myself about doing, but I will occasionally like climb up on somebody's cabinet, right, and adjust a light to improve something, or
that's fine. Else. But the simple system is, let's put you in nicer shoes and a nicer shirt, nice slacks, so that it's not easy for you to say, well, I'll just take down that bathroom wall while I'm here.
Right.
You can do it. You just can't do it because, as you said,
a while ago, with the giant pry bar, pulling up a slab of concrete out of somebody's, floor or something. And
I'll tell you. I'll tell you. Al, people have heard me say this before, but I so badly want to buy the Fat Max wrecking bar. That thing looks awesome. Yeah. But it would be aiming the wrong direction in my life as it is right now, because I should not have a Fat Max wrecking bar.
You should not.
I should not. Even though I want one, there's a difference.
I bought specialized wrecking tools for somebody else who was going to do this right for me. And, he enjoys the Fat Max wrecking bar, and I get to live vicariously through it, because it's a lot of fun in building things.
There's a little Bart Simpson in me. I won't lie. Like, I do like to destroy things. Why not? Yeah. But I do have to understand that's not the highest and best value. And that's the story behind why you're dressed so sharp, because it's a simple system that we put in place. You put in place, right? How do I not pump in some drywall? How do I not carry in some plywood? I can do it, but I can't do it.
Yeah. I wear a better coat and not the work coat. I still wear my work coat to walk the dog and whatever, but absolutely.
Yeah.
Simple system, and it's working.
Now, what was the trigger that happened to make you start hiring office staff, support people, or what you might consider non-revenue generating people? I know that's the wrong word, because you and I are above that now, but where was that trigger, office staff?
Well, it's a good question, and that my wife, Barb, who I love very much, came to me and said that, because she'd been working a little bit in the business with me, since for quite some time, but then she said she wanted to work in kitchen design, and could we consider doing this? And I said that, and we agreed that it wasn't the right time to do it, but for other reasons it was probably the right time in her life, to do it. So we decided we're going to take the plunge, knowing that this is quite possibly, but definitely too early, and possibly the wrong thing to do. And there are a whole bunch of pluses and minuses, to that. And I tell people openly that I don't recommend this, because I think that it puts too much stress, on your home life, to be balancing it with your work life, and that we've absolutely had our ups and downs in this, and the fact that our work life pours directly into our home life, is not really a good thing. So
it can be tough. You're never away from the businesses.
Yeah, it's true, and that we're prone to having conversations and things like this, about it, like even now. But we worked through this, we've had problems, and that we had to put in checks and balances, simple systems, to help me, stay ahead of what was going on with the business, and so that I had confidence that we were hitting our goals, hitting our numbers. It's still the idea of having a hole in our numbers somewhere, that we're undercounting something and going to be short of revenue, scares the hell out of me. But like working with you and working with simple systems, right? Knowing our numbers make a giant difference.
Yeah. And I remember one of the key, this goes from that trigger to the next trigger. You made a key hire internally,
Yes.
and that project manager has done a really good job of helping you track the numbers. And I think if I'm looking back at what you said earlier, instead of leading the business from the side of your desk, you've got some people in place because you've got Barb, you've got that project man, you've got people there who you can rely on. Like you could truly trust them.
Yeah.
To help you drive.
He's absolutely the best hire I've ever made, right? Don't tell Sam the Carpenter, right? This, but Jess Fraser is a rock star in our business, and it's because, right, his ability to mine down to get the real numbers.
Right.
He does a fabulous job of sort of running the day-to-day business, but like more than that, his right head is a peer of mine, right, in looking at the data and making an analysis and making intelligent decisions about what it is that we need to do.
Yeah.
So it was a giant hire, and that, Dom knows this, but before I hired him, like I knew I wanted to hire him. I'd met him. We interviewed him for a sales job and like a design job, and
right.
I thought he didn't get that job. Like he wasn't the right guy for it. But I said he's our $4 million guy.
That's right. He was your $4 million guy.
And I said, he's our $4 million guy. He's the guy, right, who has what it takes to get us from here to there. That, he's going to backfill us with knowledge and shit togetherness, and that, show up every day, right, and help us be stronger, more focused, right, and a better company overall. And he is.
Yeah.
So he, like everybody else, like me, right, he's got pluses and minuses, and we have some of the same faults, which I think that we're aware of, and that we need to, be conscious of what holes we have between us. But you know what? Like he's a god. Like I love the guy.
What he's done with the dashboard is incredible, because we don't really have questions that we can't answer anymore. Right.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about accounting questions, even though sometimes those numbers come in. We're talking about operational questions. How many leads do we have? How many leads do we have coming in next? And how many meetings do we have? And managing the team of your designers. You're a very different business now than you and Jeremy doing decks outside.
Right. Absolutely. And I came from a very data-based business, right? And I was the guy with the top analysis, and that, occasionally I'd find myself in a meeting, right, in an office with a group of people, and somebody would be quoting numbers, and I had the confidence to know those are my numbers, right? I generated those. You're using them in an inappropriate way, and here's what they really mean, right? And whatever. So I love numbers. They've been my friend, right, forever, and it's nice to have my friend right back in this business, because for a long time we didn't. Right, our accounting was probably a little bit soft, and that when we reached into things to try and get numbers, we didn't really have them. We had some anecdotal stuff primarily that we were running off of.
Now, you said something interesting to me a little while ago, in actually one of our other conversations. You said revenue is starting to be less important of a number, and profit has become more important. So that the amount you sold a job for is less important than the profit on a job. And you've laid out some very clear criteria for us in coaching for the goals you want to hit. But maybe share with everybody here why revenue is less important to you than profit.
Yeah, because like when you start off in this business, I think that you need to establish yourself and keep things working, keep things moving, start to establish, right, some market presence and things like this that can help sustain a business like ours. And, we sort of, did that. And so revenue was a big focus for us, right? And hitting like milestones. The first time we hit $1 million, right? Like that was a giant thing for us.
It's huge. Yeah.
It's huge. And it also was the opening of a window, right, to where we could have a business that we ran as a business. This wasn't just a job, right, for me. Now we have people working and doing things, and that we're growing, right, and whatever. So yeah, like, $1 million was really key for us. But now, like, we're looking at profit targets, and we're saying, like, we still need revenue, and that Dom will tell you that, the revenue needs to be this in order for you to profit that. But the reality is the one we want is the profit, and that, because there's 100 different ways that somebody, right, can contribute to that, where they can't necessarily contribute inside the business to making money on the bottom line, to the big sales number, but they can increase profitability every single day.
Yeah. It's the profitability is why we're in business, and it's worth repeating. We're not just here to, I sold a big $300,000 job. Okay. But is it a profitable job?
Right.
And it's a question without emotion. It is just a fact-based question. And if we're not making enough money on the job, what do we have to fix? What simple systems do we need to put in place? And you guys have done a fantastic job of going back and mining those opportunities and carrying it forward.
Yeah. Now, in a previous line of business, like, we looked at things differently, and the big number was really important. But I used to tell people, and this was game changing for us when we realized this, is that our goal wasn't to make more money. Our goal was to make more money, right? To grow the money, right? So if somebody came in with some money that was the same as last year, or whatever. Well, you look for what's the growth on it. What have you done here? People had a small account, right? And they brought in this much money, like growth in it. That's fabulous. They had a really big account and they brought it in without growth on it. Yeah, you didn't do your job. So in this business, we've changed gears. Profit is our friend. We struggle to say it and say it, comfortably here with you, but honestly, we feel, careful, about how we sort of use it, that we want to build value for customers, and that's right.
Well,
super key.
Yeah, and that's always been front and center, is value for customers. Even in your origin story, if you will, you really are about quality. And if I'm going to live with this kitchen or renovation for how long? 25, let's say 15 years. That's still a long time. 15 years is a long time, right? But say it's 25. I'm going to live with that reno forever, right? So a couple of bucks here and there to make sure the job is done properly, or that the backsplash is done right, even if it means a change order, is worth it, because I'm going to look at that mistake or shortcoming forever and go, I really wish we'd done that with 1010. Why did we leave that, X or Y undone?
Yeah, I don't want to hear that, right? I want to come back and talk to people. And, like one of our customers said to us, we ran into our kids' hockey game, and that our kids were playing against their kids, whatever, and we're sitting and chatting, having a great time. And she says, I'm still in the honeymoon phase with my kitchen.
Oh, I love it.
Kitchen for me 3 years ago, but I was just sitting there last night before I went to bed, and I thought, man, this is a great kitchen. I'm glad we did this, and I'm glad that you guys built this right for me. So
it's nice to hear that, isn't it? Because you have tough conversations with other customers as well. It's just going to happen, right? You let out my cat. Why is it so cold in here? It smells like paint. All of the things that you're like, okay, I
let 5 dogs out. I did. I had to chase them for 90 minutes. I did. But yeah, it is, and I live for that, and that it's. I love profit. I'm in a point in my life where I want to make a shit ton of money, right? And
as you should.
I want to retire, right? We're working towards spending more time, right, on holiday mode and less time, right, in work mode. And in order to make that happen, the business has to be in a place where effectively, it's going to run right itself. That we've got people in place who I can count on, right, to do things. And we've got this conscious transition that we're, working through, and that, I get a great deal of satisfaction, right, aside from, I get as much satisfaction from knowing I'm making the profit as I do from having the actual profit, right? That building a successful business, right, is an end in itself. And that you're very good at bringing me back, because I have 26 good ideas, right, every hour. And that,
you're not short on creativity.
Systems, Dom reminds me, you said you want to do this. Do you still want to do that? Okay, whatever. But yeah, I love my business, and I love running the business. It's great.
And I think when you say that out loud, and I'm speaking about the royal you, like all of us, if I go around saying, geez, I hate my business, guess what happens? I'm programming my mind in the negative towards the business. But on your worst day, do you still say, geez, I love my business?
Absolutely.
And it brings you up. It's the same thing when we have bad weather here. I'll start by saying, what a nice day.
Yeah.
The ducks must love this, right? But if I go around just saying it's a horrible day, it's raining, then I'm aiming my life down. I'm allowing negative to come in. But if I start like you do all the time, I love my business, even when it's challenging, because it can be challenging. It keeps you, it keeps that forward momentum. And I believe that cascades down to everybody else on the team as well.
And I have two things that I cherish, and one is our people, right? The people who work for us, right? And the other is the people who are customers. And that, you know what, I love them both, and I wish I could have a full-time job where I could go around and just chat with all of our past customers.
Yeah.
Right. And that I am in awe, right, of what we're growing in our employee group. Like they're fabulous.
And you do support your people. Our conversation earlier this week was about adding even more value to people. Let me change gears here as we start to move towards the end. I want to ask you this: if you could go back in time,
sure.
So to early days in the business, what would you have done different, or what would you have done sooner, knowing what you know now?
Sure. Well, I would have allowed myself more time to plan my way out of the business. That, you know, that I took a long time, right, where I was still working in the business and you know, actively consumed by that, and that I think that you know, held me back. You know, I think that I should have changed gears, like from that, right, sooner. I should have, you know, hired more people. You know, like I didn't take a lot of risks, right, early on. And early on, like I had no money, right, when I started this business. I didn't even have a credit card, right?
Oh my goodness, I didn't know that. You had no credit card when you started?
I did not. My ex-wife, Nancy, who I love and have a fabulous relationship with now, right? We're hating each other, right, at the time, right? Nowadays, I phone her, my new wife, Barb, right, phones her, whatever, you know, we're all great. But at the time, right, she canceled my credit cards like there was nothing. You know,
my heart just, I didn't realize. Okay, so it's not like you just walked in and suddenly had a renovation business. You fought the hard yards.
Yep. It was good, and it was good for me. And then, you know, when I did get a credit card, right, that obviously upped the game, and that I could do things a little bit differently. But I'm happy to have started from there for a variety of reasons. It also meant I had to get paid right away, right? Like,
well, you're very, we never have collections discussions, you and I. We never.
Zero accounts receivable.
Yeah. That's great. And so that's something you would have done differently. More time to plan my way out. What would you have done sooner? What's a change you wish you'd made sooner in the company?
Well, I think that, you know, bringing in somebody to you know, work, right, as Jess, right, with general manager. I think that was really key. And that when we, like, it really, like, for me, happened as soon as I met him and knew he was our $4 million guy. Right, you know, he and I had some conversations about, look, like, you know, I want you to come work for me, and that, you know, I don't really have a position for you right now, but, you know, if you're interested in working with me, I'm interested in working with you. And, you know, we made it happen and brought him in the door, right, and it was great.
Yeah. I should remind everybody that he was your $4 million guy before you were even close to that number, and without sharing too much, we are going to blow past 4.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
We're in a moving train now, and you know, like, it's the profit number that you know, I'm looking for, and that's the top of my list right now. But yeah, like, we're gonna continue to churn past, right, 4, right, and 6 and 8, right, and 12, right, and then retire and fully. But I don't know what the hell I'll do. Work on motorcycles, I suppose.
Maybe make more gas tanks out of the blue. I don't know. Create spokes for the tires. Something random that I don't think that people actually do is what you'll do.
Yeah, I think that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Swedge. That's what you do with spokes. You swedge them. You make the little fat head on the end.
Oh.
People do that.
I didn't. That's how you get the last name Swedge, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, if there's a last name Swedger.
There you go.
Well, let's start to wrap up here. If somebody wants to find you in this world, how the heck do we find you and find out more about you?
Sure. Well, I think going to our website is a great spot to find us, right? So we're 1010kitchens.ca. Also, Facebook and Instagram are great. We're not on Twitter. That seems like it's a whole world unto itself that doesn't need us. But yeah, we're not on Snapchat, you know, things like that. But Facebook's a great place to come and find us. Phone me, right? Tell me what, I can do for you. And that, if you want to take a few minutes and talk about your business and, something about my business, I'm interested. Dom introduced me to somebody the other day, right? And I phoned him for a different purpose. And I discovered that he's brilliant in his own area. And that now all of a sudden I'm, learning more about his work and happy to just, talk to him. So yeah, call me. We're 204-230-4686. You can get me. But yeah, Jeff is probably going to answer the phone if you dial the other number. But talk to us. So,
and I should say TENTEN Kitchens is TENTEN. So don't put in the numbers. It's TENTEN.ca. For those of you who are on Contractor Strategy Group, which is my Facebook group, you're an active member of that.
Yes.
And for those of you who've seen that page or who are on that private group, you'll have seen Al's homepage pictures, because one of the things, I think this is absolutely brilliant, and this might be where the Filipino couple came in. You got people interacting with your kitchens by holding a picture that says, "We love our 1010 kitchen."
Absolutely.
Much more powerful picture than just a clean white kitchen. It's still beautiful.
We were looking to strengthen our conversions right from referrals.
Yeah.
And that we thought, okay, these people are raving fans. Why don't we let them show it? And I'll tell you that it took a long time to do that. That wasn't a quick thing that just happened. And that, I had to convince my wife to let one of our customers hold a blank sign right in front of her.
Oh.
She was very happy to do. And then we, used Miracle.
You superimposed it on top? No way.
Yeah. And then we did. And that started it. And then, it's been great. But yeah, it's a fabulous demonstration. And that, it humanizes
the thing, because anybody can show. And there's always that question: is this a stock photo of a kitchen they just put there? Did they really make that? But when you've got somebody, a couple, it shows the kind of people that buy your kitchens. It shows them with the sign, and we love our 1010 kitchens, and they're smiling. They're not like grumpy. They're not like, get these guys out of my kitchen. Speaking of numbers, something else that was very interesting, I think Barb and I dug into this quite a bit, is we found the highest conversion rate on photos was the photo that had a pet in it, not people.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Like a dog. Absolutely. It is. Everybody loves the pet photos. I mean, it's a dumb thing, but the reality is that, like I take pictures of my dog regularly. People show me pictures of their dogs, and that Barb, I think, probably spends 60% of her day searching for pet pictures on
loving the dogs. Yeah, why not?
She doesn't really, but
no, I know
we love pet pictures. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but that's interesting that along with the 1010 kitchen sign, that makes it real, and that makes you stand out, and that goes to your what I've been impressed with in watching you is everything you do links to everything else very nicely. There's no, like, you talk about quality, so you do quality. You talk about caring about your people, so you show that you care people on your site and in how you act. And I think that's really great.
I think that's our brand. And I think that recognizing that early on, is that you are building a brand, whether you're big or small right now. Start there. Consistency is everything with brand, right? So
yeah. Excellent. Well, thanks very much, Al, for joining us here today. Lots of info, and I appreciate hearing the whole story.
We have to go, really? Yeah.
No. Well, we're going to stop here, but I'm going to add this new component that I'm going to test out on you. So for folks that are listening to the long form, Al and I are going to try out this short form in a second, but let me hit stop here so we can record that. Say thanks to Barb for me. Thanks, Al.
Well, nice to see you.
Okay, bye. Well, Al Keith, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us here on the show. I forgot that you were in charity fundraising, and I loved hearing your background there. I knew you were making gas tanks in the basement when you and I first started working together, but all of the other things that you're doing on that side passion for motorcycles is crazy. And then I really appreciated the wisdom that you brought to the conversation about the growth of your business and the amount of care you put into quality, both in relationships and in quality in the deliverables that you get for your clients. And it's just fantastic to hear. And I know there's some people out there that really appreciate hearing that, because they go forward and they want to deliver absolute great quality to their clients. They want to be profitable, and they want to have great relationships as well. So Al, thank you for standing out as a leader and sharing your story with us on that.